You press the red button. Good evening. My name is Sylvia Miles-Wright, and this is my project for EDU 710, Leadership Theory and Practice in Educational Organizations. This project describes my personal leadership styles. We'll have the introduction, review of literature, description of my leadership style, and how the leadership style will affect my future. Guthrie and Schuerman described leadership styles by stating that leadership styles refer to patterns of behavior demonstrated by leaders as they influence and provide organizational direction. Murray Johannesson, in an article titled "The Importance of Choosing a Leadership Style," stated that having only one leadership style for all situations is like having only one dress that you wear for all occasions. I'll review the literature of the following authors: Paulton Smith and Hood, Carl Dobbs and Mark Fields, Kay Peppers and Lisa Hamilton Thomas, and Moose, Krajcef, and Kofort, 3 Danish researchers. Paulson, Smith, and Hood. Paulson and Company conducted a study on whether men or women place higher value on transformational or transactional leadership styles in their college professors. The study found that both men and women place higher value on transformational approach than the transactional when it came to college instruction. Professors who utilize a transformational leadership style are more likely to challenge students to find fresh solutions to long-standing problems. The professors look to increase the ambitions of the students they instruct. Transactional leaders, on the other hand, are thought to have more of an impact on student skill set. In conclusion, though, Paulson found that the greatest level of student success is achieved when professors possess both transactional and transformational leadership attributes. Carl Dobbs and Mark Fields conducted research on leadership effectiveness. They stated in order for a leader to be effective, 3 things had to be possible. First, the leader had to possess knowledge about their occupation. Second, the leader had to know themselves. And third, the leader had to know the people who work for them. If a leader has gained expertise from education or training or work experience, they are more likely to be respected and admired by their staff. Staff members are more willing to accept the leader's leadership. If a leader knows their own personal strength, they're more able to select employees whose personal strengths and weaknesses are better able to fit their own. Finally, if leaders know their staff, they're better able to assess staff's strengths and weaknesses and to better place staff members in positions where they can excel individually and make a greater contribution to the organization. Kay Peppers and Lisa Hamilton Thomas conducted a research where Ms. Peppers detailed her trek as a principal utilizing an authoritarian style of leadership to a principal utilizing a transformational style of leadership. Pepper described how her authoritarian style resulted in a negative school climate, low morale, and low school success. As she modified her leadership style to the transformational leadership style, there was a positive effect on the learning and working environment. The transformational style, along with input from teachers, staff, students, and community members, resulted in an enhanced school environment. Moose, Krajcef, and Kofort researched the ways in which school principals exercise leadership in view of the stipulations demanded by national, regional, and local authorities. Their research outlined the relationships between state, local, and school districts in 8 countries participating in the International Successful School Principal Project. The 8 countries were the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Austria, China, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. In Austria, the principles were viewed in each case as visionary, inspirational, and the engine rooms of success. Principals held strong values and used their influence to achieve desires, but they also delegated tasks and responsibilities to teachers. In Canada, principals were viewed as administrators with no educational leadership tasks. Principals in these schools used district initiatives as the basics for their goals. In the Chinese system of education, a hierarchy of superintendents determined the direction of the schools. The individual schools were top-down communities. In China, the principal's main task was processing the bureaucracy and implementing the decisions of the federal government. In Denmark, there are leadership teams and teacher teams. Decision powers are distributed to the teacher teams, and those teams are allowed to have an impact on the budget as well as their own teaching plans. In Sweden, principals utilize an open and participatory school structure based on basic democratic values. Principals manage schools and communicate with federal and local authorities, but critical decisions are made only after consultation with and input from teachers. In the United Kingdom, principals are viewed as a person responsible for implementing government directives and for approving student achievement. In the United States, all the schools in the study were in the state of New York. The principals there used the curriculum standards and standardized testing as a method to focus all stakeholders, teachers, parents, students, on meeting the expectations for student achievement. All the principals included in the study by most were committed to setting direction for their individual schools. However, they differed in the ways that directions are set from one educational system to another. In considering my personal leadership style, I chose 3 quotes that can describe me. The first is by Benjamin Franklin. He says, "He that cannot obey cannot lead." I've always tried to do the right things and to follow the rules. As a teacher, I came to work on time, submitted my lesson plans on time, showed up for my duty consistently and on time, followed the rules and procedures, even when I did not fully agree with them. I think a leader has to first be a good follower, someone who respects leadership and respects authority. Now, as an administrator, I lead by example. I come in on time, I stay later than required, I don't abuse my lunch time or fringe time, sick or vacation. Even as an administrator, I follow the chain of command. The next quote by Norman Schwarzkopf states, "Leadership is a potent combination of strategy and character, but if you must be without one, be without strategy." What Norman is saying that character outweighs the strategy. As an administrator, I carry myself in a professional way at all times. My attire, my attitude, my manner of communicating with staff, my overall presence says that I'm here to do a job. The final quote by E.M. Kelly says, "Remember the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss says go, a leader says let's go." I consider myself a leader. As an administrator, I work with teachers and staff in accomplishing what needs to be done. I'll help the custodian prepare the library for a meeting, or help her to restore the cafeteria to normalcy after a student assembly so that lunch schedules can begin on time. I'll help teachers monitor student arrival and departure, help with bulletin boards if needed, whatever it takes to get the job done. For the past 2 years, I've worked as an assistant principal at a local high school. In doing so, I took on a leadership role in a school in which I had taught for 10 years. Making the transition from teacher to administrator was not difficult because as a teacher, I was very subjective to leadership, followed the rules, and was an informal leader within the school. I was respected by staff and students as someone who was consistent and fair. The leadership style I used regularly was participative. My focus was to let teachers know that I valued what they did on a daily basis and I desired their input in the decisions I made that had an impact on them. first task, however, as an assistant principal, was to designate teachers who would be responsible for learning a new computer system and turnkeying that data to other teachers. One such teacher, while not refusing to undergo the training, but certainly made her dislike of not only being chosen to be a leader in this project, but the whole concept of computerization. In the end, the teacher did attend the training. She turned out to be someone who became enthralled with the program. She not only took on the training, but she became an expert in the program, became one of our strongest advocates, and one of our best teachers. In this instance, my leadership style was autocratic. In this situation, it was the best style. For the current school year, I'm assigned to an elementary school as assistant principal. I've spent the last 10 years in the high school and as a teacher, and before that, and then 2 years as an assistant principal. My most recent experience at the elementary level was 17 years ago at the birth of my youngest child. In the elementary school, I had to adopt an emerging style of leadership as I eased into my new environment. That entailed carving out a position for myself, as the elementary schools had not previously had assistant principals. I had to first of all learn the lay of the land, learn the processes and learn the procedures, and then make myself a crucial part of the interactions. I began by assisting in monitoring student arrival and departure, and visiting the cafeteria during the various lunch periods. These were areas where assistance was needed, and my leadership among the students evolved as they began to see me in positions of authority. I also began to visit classrooms on a daily basis, observing the teachers and classroom procedures. I also began to work with teachers and staff in accomplishing what needed to be done, whether stepping in to assist in a student conference or calm an upset parent. I was very visible and accessible, and they slowly began to not only confide in me, but to ask for my opinions and my suggestions. My leadership style is mainly participative. I always want individuals to know that they are valued, their opinions are valued, their experiences are valued, and they are necessary for the success of the organization. As my career moves forward, I would hope that the description that Moss described for the Australian principal also applies to me. In Australia, the principals were seen as visionary, inspirational, and the engine of success. This is how I would like my leadership style to be described as I move forward in my career. Thank you very much to Dr. Chevelle Hall, and also to my husband, Kevin Wright.
Yo.